Welcome to Resource Thursday with Rae at Pax8. I'm your host, Paco Lebron. This is the place to learn how to run your IT service business, whether you're a one-person shop or you're leading a team for the journey. This is the place for you. Let me go ahead and introduce my co-host. We have none other than Rick Smith over at Renactus Technology. Rick, how the heck are you, my friend?
I'm doing good, man. As I like to say, any better than it be a sin.
Every time you say that, I'm just like, man, Las Vegas is not coming soon enough for many reasons. So, but anyway, before we go into one of my favorite places to visit, I know we want to talk about our favorite thing. It's a nice little segue to TechCon Unplugged. TechCon Unplugged will be in Woodbridge, New Jersey, September 7th through the 10th at the Delta Hotels Woodbridge. And it's going to be a fine time, folks. You're going to join us for an evening mixer that kicks off 2.5 days of content to help better save money, save time, and most importantly, improves your services. This show is for any size IT solution provider, as mentioned in the intro, whether, again, you're an emerging MSP or you're a veteran in the space, this is going to be the place for you. Tickets are on sale for early bird pricing at $199 until the end of the month. Go ahead and get your tickets now. We have updated the website. What is that website again? TechConUnplugged.com. As you've been hearing us tout about this for the last several months, we appreciate those that have supported, and we have a lot of great things to come as well. So find us over there, and we will talk to you soon. All right, Rick. Anything to add on that, or can we dive in right into this?
We can go right on in. You did a great job. You don't need me.
All right, perfect. Well, I'm super excited to introduce our next guest. A lot of people in the community know who he is. I would like to say he is a friend of mine. He's I'm not gonna say good friend because we haven't talked that much over the years, but we have a great relationship, a great supporter of the channel, and quite frankly, if you don't know who he is, you should know who he is. I want to go ahead and bring in Rae, Corporate VP of Community and Ecosystems over at Pax8. Rob, how are you today?
I'm awesome. Thank you very much. I'm super happy to be here with you guys today.
Well, I appreciate it. I know just because this is something I know about you. I know you hate to hear all these like big titles and mystifying and of all these things that everyone says about you, which are all true. But I figured I spare you with that here today, so that way, because everyone knows who don't know you will know you today, and those who do know you already know all the great things you've done over the years. But I do have a question for you, and this is a bit of a fun question: is what is the percentage of people or content creators that have gone on to say that they're your good friend and you've met them like twice over the years?
Quite a few. But that being said, I actually my engagement with everybody is fairly sincere. Like I do enjoy, especially in the MSP space. It's funny because my wife, like she tries dragging me out to like local events for the town and stuff like that, and I just really don't care. Meanwhile, and I cannot remember anybody's name that lives in my town. Meanwhile, I can meet somebody in the MSP space from 6 years ago where we shared a drink at a bar and wherever. And for some reason, especially with faces for me, I can recall those things. Meanwhile, I can't remember who I had dinner with in town last week, so it's I guess I don't know why I'm just more passionate about the MSP space, or maybe I just feel a lot more comfortable in the MSP space that I just seem to remember these things. So I keep, again, she jokes that, when I die, nobody's going to come to my funeral because I don't have any friends, because I'm on the road all the time. I'm like, are you kidding me? There's gonna be like 4,000 IT folks that are going to, you're not going to know a single one of them. And she's like, those aren't your friends. I'm like, I spend more time with them than I do with you. So
it's amazing on the friendships you make in the channel and in the ropes and just kind of traveling all around for sure. I know when on our first introduction and meeting, we were mutually introduced. I remember that, obviously there's always and everyone says it's the myth of Rae, right? It's Rob is this titan. He's built these businesses. He has history and experience. And I remember our conversation, and I forgot what event it was. And
I
at the time
it was Chicago 2018, the Virgin Hotel. I remember exactly where it was.
Wow.
That was the Virgin Hotel. Yeah. Holy shit. Yeah. So and we sat on the couch. It was us with a couple other vendors and I believe a few MSPs as well. And the sore topic at the time for at least us and the emerging MSPs at the time was the term trunk slammers and ProdigyTeks for one person shows. And I wanted a genuine understanding of where did those terms come from? And you took the time to explain it to me because of your history in the channel and just understand what it is and why people were calling one person shops for that. So again, appreciate you being able to just be approachable and always approachable in all the events. But and I know everyone clamors over to you to try and pick your brain and stuff like that because of the experience. But with all that being said, why don't you tell us a little bit about your origin story and kind of how you found your way over to Pax8?
Sure. I was in university trying to get a finance degree because I wanted to be an accountant. I don't know why, because it's just totally not my personality whatsoever these days. And when I think back to who I was back then, I have no idea why I wanted to be an accountant. I love numbers. I love spreadsheets. Like, numbers don't lie. It's black and white. It's pretty simple. Like, it's not magical. It's not mystical. And then I ended up getting into a sales career basically because I needed to get out of school. I was having a child way earlier than what I wanted to and plan in my life. So that means, you got to give up certain things in order to be able to pay the bills. So I got into sales quickly because if you're going to figure out how to make money without an education or without any like real specific training, sales is probably the easiest place and generally how most salespeople end up there anyway. And then I just found a passion for it. But I was still in the finance area of sales. And it's actually a really interesting story, but I'll try to keep it simple. There was a kid that came by and interviewed with me. We had just started the first online bank in Canada. And it was fascinating because all you could do is literally look at your account balance and transfer between two accounts. And you had to get like a 6 or 8 disc set in order just to be able to do that. And then, of course, that never went through properly. So, the whole idea was we were just kind of providing tech support for people that couldn't install this one program. But anyway, long story short, I'm interviewing this kid and he says to me, I'm only going to work here for 2 years. And when I went back and looked at his resume, he literally was 2 years at about, 4 different fields. And I said to him, why? And he said, I'm trying to figure out what I want to do for the rest of my life. I'm trying to figure out the vertical that I want to get into. And I haven't tried finance yet, but I promised myself I only give it 2 years and then I jump. And I'm like, normally I wouldn't hire somebody that's only got like 2 years experience. But I wanted to prove to this kid that finance was the right career for him. So I hired him. And I said, after 2 years, you're going to love this. Well, 2 years came up and he resigned. And I'm like, man, what? Like, did I not provide the greatest place for you to work at? Is this not like the coolest thing ever? And he's like, no, but I need to try IT. I haven't gone into IT yet. So he bounced and left and he went to Compact Computers. And he calls me about 3 months later and he says, I gotta be honest with you. You're one of the best managers I've ever worked for. They're hiring a sales manager over here at Compact. And I'm like, I know nothing about IT. And they're like, well, it's not IT though, right? They were looking for somebody that has sales management and people skills. They don't need somebody that can, put a server together. And I'm like, all right. So I applied. They offered me double what the bank was paying me. So no brainer. I bounced, right? And that's where I started into IT. Sold hardware for about 4 or 5 years, Compact HP. And then I wanted to pivot and shift. I was tired of when you work for a large organization like that, you're a cog in the wheel, you're making a salary, you've got a good, take home, you got your benefits, it's comfortable. But I wanted to go and do something new and be creative and, be one of those people that's just kind of like venturing in. So no risk, no reward. I actually went and found this transition from reseller to managed service provider. Well, what's the cornerstone circa 2004, 2005? What's the cornerstone of an MSP practice? RMM and PSA. So found this little RMM company in Canada called Level Platforms, joined them, worked there, met absolutely phenomenal people, a lot of which are still in our industry today. Worked for a great human being by the name of Dan Wensley, who's now CEO over at ScalePad. I was actually just with him this week, yesterday in Orlando at a trade show. And then we sold that company to AVG Technology. That's where Datto came along. 9.5 years at Datto, decided it's time to do something new. And then that's where I was able to join into a great organization called Pax8. That was the journey.
Awesome. Nice. Awesome. Yeah, no, love the fellows over at ScalePad, Louis G and Eric Torres, fellow Latinos that I greatly appreciate. So
Eric's in Milwaukee. Don't let him fool you.
But I know you've had great relationships with some of those people over there as well, and it's amazing on how spread out the great talent that came from Level Platforms, and it's a platform that has been, I think everyone is still trying to capture that esque of it, is what I understood. This was quite a few years before I started my practice, but everyone I talked to, even down to a gentleman named Kramer Snuggs over at Cascade Technology, that said, yeah, he was like, Level Platforms was where it was at. Like, that was just, if anybody can get to where that was before, they got a gold mine, right? And so and I think it just speaks to the people that really helped with that technology. But
so I'll agree with you and disagree with you, because there are people that use Level Platforms that, if they're watching this, are probably screaming, pulling their hair out right now hearing this. I'll tell you why. I mean, we were the we were the little company that could. We were a little company that tried, right? And I think there's a couple different factors there. Now, I think that a lot of what I've been able to do in the MSP space, I learned from that experience there. And then when you look at the other individuals that are still in our space that work for that organization, that was all under Dan Wensley's tutelage over there. The whole reason why I think a lot of us are still in this space is because of what we had to experience over there. And let me share that with you. So number one, our technology worked for 6 months at a time. And then what would happen is we would come out with a launch, because this is RMM, right? There's so much innovation that has to go into RMM, and there's so many different pieces that need to be fine-tuned. So we would come out with an RMM product. It would break everything. The integrations that you've got, it would it just wouldn't do what it was designed to do. And then our tech team would spend 6 months fixing bugs to the point where it was beautiful and working. And then we would release 6.0, and it would just break everything again. So we would talk about, we would make this joke on the sales team, and we actually did sales planning around having low first month, better second, better third, great sixth month, and then we'd have to start right back over from a sales perspective. So we saw these big loops from a sales perspective because our tech team kept breaking the tech. So the goal as an account manager is trying to keep the MSP from canceling when the tech is down there and getting them to buy more when the tech is up here. So, we had to go through these motions where, we could be super aggressive when the tech was working, but we also had to be super humble when the tech was not working. And that included, for a lot of us, it was relationship building. It was developing that relationship with the MSP. So I could say to you, look, I know it's not working. It will, and we're working on it. Let me give you this timeline. So we learned so much by, your hair's on fire, now it's out. Now it's on fire, now it's out. Now it's on fire, now it's out. That we could and developed really strong relationships with our partners. I remember MSPs canceling on us. And it's like, you lost me business. You lost me a customer. It didn't do what you told me it was going to do. And I'm leaving you. I'm so sorry. I don't want to leave you. Like, people were crying because they were leaving us. They were leaving us because of a business decision, but they didn't want to leave us because of the relationship. So then we all learned from that if you find a company that not only can continue to foster that awesome relationship, but actually has good tech, world's your oyster. And that's what I found over at Datto. Phenomenal technology and a leadership team that was genuinely interested in making sure that the MSPs were the center of your attention, your only attention, and that they were number one in this whole process. And, to be honest, that's how I ended up at Pax8, because Pax8 has the same mentality.
Yeah, no, I mean, and I think, and for full disclaimer for the audience, I am a Pax8 partner. And so, I think that when Pax8 started coming onto the scene, they really were trying to change that narrative and understanding of not so much that, hey, distribution is broken and we can do it differently, but hey, here's how we can help you and figure all this out. You know, I was with a previous CSP prior to switching to Pax8 many years ago, and it was to a point where, you know, I didn't get the education. I didn't get the knowledge that they were trying to educate at the time. You know, down to just useful things being put out by the team over by, you know, Dom, Nick, Ross, when his time over at Pax8, and of course our very own and so a big supporter here, and my good friend Matt Lee, and really contributing on so much to the community. They just started assembling and growing and bringing these great people to the channel. And now it's scaled in such a way where now it's how do you scale the community aspect of it, right? And, you know, I was super excited to hear that you joined over there, because what you've done to build community, and just a lot of the things that I've heard from some of the community members prior to you getting there, it just sounds like it's going to be a much better and great time for the community over at Pax8. But for those that don't know who Pax8 are, or know a little bit about it, what's your best definition of what Pax8 does?
You know, it's funny. There's a number of different definitions, because of course in my, you know, I left my job on October 31st. I had a number of months to think about what it is that I wanted to do, where it is that I wanted to go. And I got a lot of, you know, a lot of organizations that reached out to me during the course of that time. Some of them brand new startups that you've never heard of. Some of them are startup plus one. A lot of them you've heard of that are good technology companies. And then I was doing a lot of consulting over that time too for private equities and VCs that were just poking around trying to figure out where to park some money in the MSP space, because the MSP space is such a darling of the channel right now. I remember when we were in our dark corner and nobody cared about us and we could get away with anything. You know, it's not like that anymore. Now people are actually watching us and we're being measured and billions of dollars are flying through. So, you know, so for me, this journey was kind of an odd one, from the perspective that I had a choice between really, really basic and easy stuff to, like, you know, I'm going to be emptying out my own garbage can, to all, you know, like Pax8, which is like this amazingly built organization with a lot of individuals, like you just mentioned, that have put their blood, sweat, and tears into it. I think they've been around now for 8 or 9, maybe 10 years. And now, you know, I get to jump on this already fast moving train. So I start poking around and I start asking MSPs, where should I go? Like, I found Datto because of my friends in the MSP space. I remember when they first came to me, when Awesome Accord first came to me and said, come work for me, there was like 1 million backup companies, and technically still is. And I'm like, absolutely not. Why would you want to work for a backup company when there's 1 million of them out there? And talked to a few MSP friends, and they, you know, they said, you're looking at it wrong. You know, what their message was number one, Datto actually had some really good tech. And they themselves were in the process of switching to it. But, you know, there were things like thinking about the sales model, where backup is something that the MSP sells to end users. So it wasn't like RMM, where it's a product for the MSPs. This is a product that MSPs are then expanding out to the rest. So I started calling my MSP friends, and I'm like, "What's Pax8?" And then, you know, you get them all: distributor, cloud distributor, Microsoft distributor. I had one guy telling me that it was outsourced help desk, which they do a little bit of that, but it's like that is not, you know, kind of the forte or what they're very well known for. Because, you know, I want to go in this eyes wide open. What do you love about them? What do you hate about them? And, you know, you do a quick Reddit search or any of these Facebook group searches, and there is nothing but positivity around this organization. I have been able to expose a couple of wounds, which is great, because, you know, you don't get better unless you start asking about what are the things that you need to improve on. So already this morning, you know, I'm dealing with I'm trying to troubleshoot a couple of issues that are coming up. So these are the things that I'm looking for. But I would suggest that what Pax8 does, and you know, here's the awesome part about it, and again, part of the selection process for me was not just born in the cloud. So we don't have any of the legacy stuff that a lot of our competitors are having to deal with. You know, we're born into the recurring revenue model, which again, a lot of our competitors struggle with. But we are, you know, that quick thinking, moving, born into the MSP space, you know, and I think that's one of the probably the biggest distinct advantage is the fact that we were born into MSP. It's very similar to Datto, born into MSP. So we understand the MSP market. We understand that partner program. We understand that margin needs to be made and how to do that. We understand you can't jack prices in the middle of a month. You can't, all those things that MSPs hate. We kind of like had the advantage where we were able to set the organization up from the start with the MSP in mind, build it MSP first. So, that's where I think that, a lot of that is super important on how they're going to continue to develop and grow. One of the things I'm most excited about, and this goes back to my new role there with community and ecosystem, is the education piece of this. I think that as you look at some of the vendors, let's take your backup vendor or your PSA vendor as an example. They're going to, everybody provides you education, marketing support, training, sales support, all those things, but they tend to focus around that one product that organization sells. So if you go to your PSA company or your RMM company or your backup company, which might all be the same thing, but they have very specific content, education, training, certification, whatever, around just that one product that they've got. One of the advantages I think that we've got is that when we look at education through our academy, is we're looking at the MSP as a whole. And it doesn't matter what technology you're using, whether it's on the Pax8 line card or not, because Pax8 has the advantage of looking at the breadth of an MSP as opposed to these 3 or 4 widgets that you have in your stack. The education content, and this was done through an acquisition a few years ago of Rex Frank's organization, C-Level, that we are able to actually provide a lot of training, certifications, all those things around that. And, I'm digging in there, and they have a massive, massive library, bigger than I even thought it was going to be. And they're still continuing to add to it. And a lot of that content is free. It's quite incredible what it is that they're actually doing over there. And, that's kind of for me what I'm most excited about digging in. And that's what I want Pax8 to be kind of known for, not just Disty, Cloud Disty, Microsoft Disty. I want them to be known as that MSP enabler, that place where you can go where MSPs can grow, MSPs can continue to thrive.
Yeah, no, I think you mentioned quite a bit of the services that are really unknown, right? And it's like the outsourced help desk. I found out about that a couple months ago. The professional services on items that you may not be too familiar with, and they can either do it for you as an extension of you or help you along with it so you can learn, right? There's just so much educational behind that. Rick, with because I can't recall if you're a Pax8 partner or not, but what have you taken advantage of at Pax8, or why do you continue to keep doing business with them today?
Well, here's the thing that's interesting. I've taken advantage of a few things. I told you when I initially started, I had to do that first transfer of a defederation from GoDaddy to Microsoft, and Pax8 walked me through that, right, which was very helpful. They, and I didn't even know that they would do that. I just called to get information about where to go, and they said, "Oh, just set up." They set me up and helped me walk through it. Now I know it's a lot easier. Products have come out now to make this a lot easier, but when I did it, it was a haul when they had to walk me through it, and I think it took us like 2 sessions to get it completed. But one of the things like you guys are talking about all of the all of the extras that Pax8 offers that are more than just being a quote unquote distribution company is one of the things that in the space we're probably not as accustomed to finding a company doing that, right? It's like Rob said, most of the time you call your PSA company and expect them just to give you information on the PSA product, and sometimes you barely get that. If they, so I think one of the things that's important is it's good to always to find a company who's willing to help you with no matter what the issue is if they can help you, but just getting that message out, because again, most of us don't ask those questions or don't ask for that kind of help because we don't know it exists because we're so used to it not existing. So I just think, if I had to give us a, make sure we all get that, because I've learned more and more now as I've been reading, as I've been diving into actually paying attention to more than just going into Pax8 to purchase something or check a license, of all the other things that actually are out there.
Yeah, and I think that the most important piece is that the way that Pax8 operates is you don't just have one person that you can help you, right? You have your dedicated rep, but they also have a Microsoft specialist. They have your security specialist. And I shouldn't say Microsoft. I should say productivity specialist. You know, they have the ability of helping you if you ask. And I think as an industry, we don't have the ability, or it doesn't come second nature to ask for help. I think it's either pride or you don't know what you don't know. But you know, Rob, from now kind of as you're making your circles again, and talking to partners and non-partners and just the community as a whole, what are some of the things that you found surprisingly that MSPs are either requesting or struggling with, that Pax8 is like, hey, it's like we got an app for that, like Apple would say, type situation. But yeah, we actually have an ability to help you with that. Is there anything that has been like bubbling to the top that's been a common thread?
I think it is that education piece. It's just you don't know what you don't know, right? And again, when you think of these vendors, you think of them as technology providers. I mean, I did this for 9.5 years at Datto and tried, and we have phenomenal content, training content, all that type of stuff. And not all of it was focused around backup. They were one of the first organizations to do one of the state of the MSP reports, and now everybody's doing it. And then, they were one of the first that did a state of ransomware, a state of security, and now everybody's doing it. But there's such good content in there from a training and education perspective. There's such great things that, can lead from that. But again, it goes back to what you were saying, Rick. You don't think of that vendor as the one to go to get the additional training. No, and then I think the other part of that is I think there's a little bit of trust issue there too. I don't know how long you guys have been at this, but I remember back in my Compact days, I came in. This is before MSP, and the channel were called resellers or VARs. And one of the first things I got taught, rightly or wrongly, was don't trust the channel. They will cheat, lie, and steal. And then I started talking to resellers, and resellers are like, don't trust your vendor. They will lie, cheat, and steal. So it was like we had this like adversarial relationship that's kind of like ingrained into us since we were children, because that's just the way relationships were back in the hardware days. You grow out of that, you learn that, but at the same time, there are still vendors today that will bite you in the ass if you don't pay attention. There's still MSPs that'll bite vendors in the ass if you're not paying attention. So we still have this kind of somewhat adversarial relationship that's set up, or somewhat trust relationship that, I think I every year I see the relationship between the MSPs and its vendors getting better and better and better. And that trust level needs to be there, because the community communicates so well right now. And we didn't have tools like Reddit or Facebook groups or LinkedIn to be able to say, all of a sudden one vendor decides they want to do a direct strategy in the UK, and all the UK MSPs start uprising, but the Americans start hearing about it before it even happens in the US. So, we have this like very large community but we're also interconnected, that you can't get away with that stuff anymore. So, from what I want to do and what I want to continue to do is develop that trust. And that we still are committed to, and always have been committed to, and always will be committed to, that MSP channel, where we want to bring them in. We want to provide the education. I mentioned that a lot of our education is at no cost. And the reason why we do that is because we realize if an MSP grows, they buy more stuff. And that's where we want to be, and we want to continue to fuel that. I can get vendors to pay for that MSP education. But again, a lot of times it's, do I trust the organization? Do I, it's free, which means it's probably not good. Like a lot of those, preconceived things that we're all kind of dealing with. Those are the things that I'm going to try to overcome, and hopefully we can continue to build on that.
Very cool. Yeah. I mean, I think that there's just so much to that on the educational piece, and as we go through that, and not only is it just in the platform, but Pax8 does do quite a bit of events. I know there's an event at the end of this month that's a security boot camp. I'll be there in Kansas City.
I'll be there too. I will see you there.
Oh,
live.
Nice. So we'll connect, and I know Matt Lee and Dom Kirby over there are helping create some of that content. So those who, I don't know if there's room still left, but check out the Pax8 website and register. But I know of all the things that are your babies, there's a big event that's coming up in June, Pax8 Beyond, which sounds like it's the inaugural of that type of event. Can you share a little bit more about what Pax8 Beyond is, what it looks to do for the community, and hopefully those listening can attend?
Yeah, absolutely. Love to. And thanks for the opportunity to do that. Pax8beyond.com is the actual site. So this is the inaugural event. It was supposed to happen back in 2020. It is the Pax8 user conference. So what happens is it's going to be 1,000 MSPs, Pax8, non-Pax8 users, but it's MSP only, right? MSP driven content. And then we have, of course, in the traditional user conference, we've got our vendors, but we also are extending it beyond the vendors that are on the Pax8 line card. It's an open ecosystem show. So we have a lot of vendors that are sponsoring the actual event. So you're not going to get anything shoved down your throat. It's not for us, it's not a selling event. For us, again, it's going to continue this whole education piece of it. And for anybody that's been to an event that I have planned to organize, I used to do this back in the Level Platforms days where I started, and we would get 500 or 600 MSPs to come out to a Level Platforms conference. Obviously, at DataCon grew that over the years, and I've done that all over the world. So I've got a ton of experience in, and plus, and you guys know this, like we all go to trade shows. One of the things that I love is asking MSPs, what'd you love, what'd you hate about all these different trade shows? Same with the vendors. And then what I'm trying to do is create the go-to place where MSPs are getting away or walking away with a lot of great content, a lot of great ideas. We're continuing to move the ball forward as a community. Maybe you've met a new vendor that you've never met before, new tech that you've never seen before, but definitely raising the education level. So content and quality of content's real high for me. And then again, engagement. One of the greatest things, or one of the best things that you can do at these conferences, and Paco, I think you mentioned it when you and I first met, is engaging with other people that are walking around. You're going to learn more by doing that than you will sitting down through any session or sitting through any webinar. You'll get more by just talking with the people that are standing around you, strangers that you're going to meet. And it's amazing how quickly we can become best friends. I was in Cancun for the Nerdio conference a couple of weeks ago. It was a 3-day conference all on this resort. So we all were kind of stuck together, but I had a Brit, an American, and a Aussie, and myself were basically, we kind of all ran into each other and kind of hung out the entire time. These people would never have met if they weren't all sitting in Cancun before. And now they're, best friends. So, these are the types of relationships you build and can build beyond even your own communities there. So that's also important for me. And then having fun. It's got to be fun too. Like we spend so much time working hard. Why not have a little bit of fun when we're out as well? So 2.5 days. I promise great content. I promise great engagement. I've done this numerous times. I know how to do it properly, and we have a phenomenal team and a great budget to be able to execute this. And this will be the beginning of what turns into, hopefully, at minimum, an annual show for Pax8. The other thing I'll mention too is, back in my early days, I used to love going to the Disty shows, mostly because, you think about, again, if you go to your one conference, like that technology that you use, well, that's one item that's in your stack. Whereas the Disties will bring all of the vendors that you work with. It was an opportunity for you to engage with all the vendors that are in your stack in one place. So it also kind of consolidates, for those that don't like going to conferences, or for those that, only want to go to 1 or 2 a year. This is a place where you can meet all of the vendors that you're working with, as opposed to just the one that you're engaged with.
Nice. Yeah, I mean, for those that don't know, Rob knows how to throw a party, and that's for sure. So I was in San Diego when you threw that party. That was an amazing first time of seeing what you do in your full element. I know that this one is definitely going to be a great, up to that caliber of type of event. I've actually just planned a Denver trip because my fiance's best friend is actually out there. So we're going to make a trip of a couple days out there, and then we're going to attend the event as well. So I will be there. But yeah, no, I think it's a great ability to meet everybody. I think is going to be the show to go to, in my opinion, just because, again, outside, obviously our little small show that we got in New Jersey, but I think Pax8 Beyond is going to be that show of that caliber to definitely go to. So again, for those that did not get the URL, you could find it on the bottom as well. We'll have that in the show notes as well, pax8beyond.com. It definitely it sounds to be the place to be. I know when I heard that you were going to be the one kind of mastering the event, I was super excited to know it's going to be a good time. So
it's a lot of work, but I do enjoy doing it. And by the way, like your conference as well, I'm a big fan of it. I think you know this. I think we met at one of those smaller conferences as well. But what I love about those, like what you're doing in New Jersey, is again high level of engagement there with each other. I generally you think about like large organizations like Pax8 generally won't or normally wouldn't sponsor something so small. It's completely untrue. I love those ones because those local community engagements and just the group is so tight. It's a perfect opportunity to get together. So I can't endorse what you're doing enough either.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And I think that you and I had a conversation about that as well, because, when we threw our show, our concern is more, this is a two-way road, two-way relationship with not only the MSPs and IT solution providers coming to the show, but with the vendors investing as well. And, you put it really very well for me to say, like, look, it's on the vendor who wants to commit because they want to meet, they want to hear, they want to be boots on the ground, but also no matter what the company is, whether it's a smaller company or a bigger vendor, the chances, the fact of just hearing the ability, we will find that nugget where it is because we kind of know what we've been doing for so long. And if it's a true vendor that is investing in the community, they're going to find value no matter what when they're contributing to the cause as along with supporting as well. Yeah, so definitely great words, wise words that you had told me and helped me as we continue to keep planning the event as well. Just all around good information. But I know we're a little over the episode, but I did want to trail it back to see if there's anything that we may have missed, anything that Pax8 might be having coming up, anything that for those that want to get involved with Pax8, any call to actions that we could round out the show here for your final thoughts.
Yeah, I appreciate that. I mean, again, I just appreciate the opportunity to sit down and talk with you guys. This is a new journey for me. I'm still working and learning all of the stuff here. By no means do I understand anything. I would love, if anybody's interested, I would love to get feedback on what you love, what you hate, those kinds of things. I'm very easy to reach through LinkedIn, very easy to find on LinkedIn. Also on Facebook, don't hesitate there. Or my email address is rrae@pax8.com. Again, still drinking from a fire hose, but looking at and as part of my job, just trying to continue to grow this community, this ecosystem. And Paco and Rick, thanks for everything you guys do.
No, absolutely. And I can co-sign on what Rob says. He is easy to get a hold of. I lost his number when I transferred my phone systems from one to the other. I hit him up on LinkedIn as one of his, I said, hey, I know you're busy, but if you're doing your media tour, can you pop by? So it's definitely one of those where he is reachable. He is trying to listen to the channel and the community, and he just wants to make it a much better place. So I do definitely appreciate your support. Rick, any final thoughts before we round out the show?
No, well, Rob, thanks again. I know you're a busy guy and you're learning a new job and into, so we do appreciate you taking the time to come talk to us, come talk to the community. I wish I could make it to Pax8 Beyond, but that actually is high school graduation for my youngest.
It is.
So
I know. I'm tight. I'm right between graduation and a wedding. So I totally understand. You're right.
But again, I do want to thank you for your time. And I'm sure, those who are listening, particularly those who know you and know your reputation, appreciate, your words. And I'm sure it will be, something that everyone likes. So thanks again.
Awesome. Thank you.
Very cool. Rob, really appreciate again you coming out and talking with us this morning. And we thank all of you for tuning in. Tune in every Tuesday and Thursday. Watch the video podcast on youtube.com/MSP Unplugged. You can subscribe, hit the notification button to be notified whenever a new episode is available. You can also take us with you on the go. We're on your favorite podcatcher app, Amazon Music, Spotify, Apple Podcasts. Once again, thank you for listening, and we will see you next time on MSP Unplugged.